time to come in. Okay, thank you everybody for joining and welcome to Career Pathways for Information Technology and Cybersecurity. We're glad to have you this afternoon, or at least afternoon in the Gulf Coast. I'm Ralph Russo. I am the Director of Information Technology Programs at Tulane University School of Professional Advancement. And a little bit about me, besides running the information technology programs, I've got a long history working in information technology, and I've worked as a director level and above in industry, and I've actually owned a couple of small IT companies. But more importantly and more excitingly, we've got an excellent group with us today, a panel to talk about some things that I think you'll find interesting about folks' path and folks' ways in which they landed their careers. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists. First off is Dr. Chris Bogen. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I started teaching with Tulane about 5 years ago. I've taught Linux and taught some cybersecurity courses. In my full-time job, I'm consultant for Blackberry, Cylance, and their strategic services practice. So what we do is help companies develop their incident response capabilities, beef up their general security practices and programs. Prior to that, had about 5 or 6 years in cybersecurity operations, and prior to that, about 10 years in R&D in the government sector. So just a diverse background, and happy to be here, happy to share with all of you.
Well, thank you, Chris. Your expertise is wide and widely known, for that matter. Also with us today is Dr. Terrell Coston, who's another expert we're lucky to have on our session today. Kara, would you tell the group a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kara, and I am a manager for a mobile development team at IBM. I work mainly doing Agile coaching and being a Scrum Master within a software development lifecycle. I've been teaching at Tulane for currently just 1 semester, but I have 10 years of teaching college at different universities. I've only been in Louisiana 3 years, so that's why I'm currently new to Tulane as well. Like I said, I'm an Agile coach, and some of my industries have been, I'm working currently for defense, the Department of the Army, and then also I do a lot with transportation, but mostly Department of Defense is a lot of my background.
That's interesting stuff, and we're starting to see how wide the experience level is with our panel. Last but definitely not least is Dr. Bill Rials. Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you, Ralph. Everyone, I am Bill Rials. I am the Associate Director of the Information Technology Programs here at Tulane SoPA. In addition to that, I'm also a full-time professor. I teach classes full-time, but that hasn't always been the case. I haven't been a lifelong academia. Before that, I've had a long career in information technology in a wide range. I've been everything from the lackey who sorted out network cables in the closet all the way up to executive roles such as a CIO or CISO. Most of my experience has been in the government, state and local government area, but I've also done some private consulting and worked with some private organizations as well.
Thank you, Bill. And as you can see, our faculty and our panel is not only distinguished, but they're quite accomplished. When talking about career pathways, I think this is a great group to help us understand how folks got where they got to, how their education helped, how did their path go. And so I'd like to start with our first question to the panel. So for the panel, did you always plan to end up in your current position?
I would say no. When I first started college, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be an OBGYN, and then that led to changing that major to nursing, which that led changing that major into business. So I'm a 5-time major changer. So I don't know how some people know coming in at 18 what you want to do for the rest of your life. But I happened to decide to go into IT after actually getting my first job in college as a help desk analyst. And that started the pathway for where I am in IT.
Well, that's great. There's no way that I can compare it to that story. I've been in the IT field, but I would answer the same way. No, I didn't expect to end up where I am. Even though I've been in the IT field, it's been different areas of IT. One thing about IT that's really unique is that you don't have to change IT or leave IT to leave IT. It's such a diverse intersection in discipline. So as I said earlier, currently I'm a professor. I teach IT classes. Day-to-day operations, imparting knowledge to the next generation of IT professionals, but has not always been that way. I first got into the IT field over 20 years ago. I just like to tinker with computers. I never thought that this would be my lifelong career. I started off as a part-time computer lackey, replacing monitors, plugging in cables, stuff like that. I moved to full-time, help desk, things like that. I thought I wanted to be a programmer for a second, and then I realized I can't even spell program, so I moved on to the networking side of the house. I did a lot of self-learning and also some technical classes, and got some IT certs, but never IT college-level classes. I eventually worked my way up to be a network administrator, sysadmin, that type thing. I was completely happy doing this type of work, and I thought that this would be my job forever because I love being in the face of everything. But there were some management positions that came open, but I was continually passed over. I couldn't get the job, and a lot of other people that's less skilled than I was got the promotions. There's actually more than one occasion where I created the job description, interviewed, and hired my boss, and that happened several times. And after some frank, candid discussions with the upper leadership, I learned that I was not getting the opportunities that I wanted because I never finished my college degree. I did not have a college degree to go along with my skills. It's great to be a skilled IT widget maker, but an college-educated widget maker moves on to management. So I enrolled into a program similar to SoPA. Several years later, I got my undergraduate degree. And due to that degree, eventually I got promoted to a management position. Then I found a whole new passion. I realized that I was a really good manager. I was even a better manager than I am an IT widget maker. So then I thought everything was great then. But then eventually I wanted to go to the next level, be a leader, to be an executive leader, a CIO, IT director, things like that. I learned from my previous mistakes, and I realized that there's probably going to have to be a degree involved. So I went after an advanced degree, a graduate degree. Once I got that, then I got really interested and then realized I'm a great leader. Because of that advanced degree, I ended up teaching some classes at a local university campus. And then I discovered a whole new passion. I like this whole teaching gig. So even though I've been in IT, my professional experiences, especially my college experiences, have guided me to my different career path inside the IT industry.
Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Bill. So what I heard there was no direct path in either case. Slightly different stories, but what I heard is lifelong learning. I heard that the ability to switch what you're interested in as you learn more about it. And I heard that education helped both of you folks kind of discover new passions and reach new levels. So, which is great. Which brings me to my second question. So that's the positive. And did you make any wrong turns in school or in your career?
I will say in school, with the whole changing of the majors was one, because it kind of makes you feel like you have to go back and figure out the path you want to go. And I think that made it where you don't have the direct path, or I would say classes that you need to take. So then that messed up, I guess, or some things I learned in going into my career, because I actually started my career while I was still an undergrad. And that helped me to maneuver and start to change and see, okay, I can see this being the path I want to go. The one thing I will say is I think I started my career working at a help desk. And I did that for probably about 3 or 4 years from undergrad into graduating. That let me know, okay, that's not the path that I want to take for my job. Like, what do I need to do to get out of working in the help desk? I just know that was not for me. So whatever I did, even when you look for positions, if it said anything about a help desk or any type of that support, that was not for me. So I stayed away from that. It may have stopped me from getting moving above where you could do like 3rd level, 2nd level, but I just knew for me, I was non-technical. As Bill said, he didn't want to be a programmer. I knew I didn't want to be a programmer. I didn't want to be in that, as my brother calls it, the command line. That was not for me. So I was very strategic in planning of how I looked for jobs or what jobs that were mine, because IT, like Bill said, is very open. A lot of times people think when you tell them I work in IT, I work in technology, the first 2 things they think you do, you're a programmer or you fix computers. And I tell everybody, I don't do either one of those things. And I've been in the industry for over 22 years. So then they're like complex, like, what do you mean? So I definitely would say help desk for me, not for me. So I'm very strategic in what the jobs were posting so that I knew I didn't make that or stay in that box of the help desk, because you can get caught up in there and stay there for a long time if you don't know how to get out of it.
Yes, great. Thank you, Kara. Yeah, I mean, I think wrong turns has been part of a lot of our journeys, and I think it's natural. It's not a wrong turn, actually. It's just a different turn, and you get to learn that you don't want to go that direction. And you know, education helps you change your situation if you don't like where you find yourself. So I wouldn't even categorize. I asked it as wrong turns, but the reality is it's just a life turn, and you get to return again. You get to turn that wheel in a different direction, and education has helped us do that. So, which another question for the group is, can you describe one thing of value that you got from a career role model?
Yeah, sure. Ralph, I'll take that one. And you forgive me if I bend the rules a bit and give you a bit more than one. But I think that one of the number one things is that if you have an opportunity in front of you to do something that interests you, but that you feel that maybe you're not quite prepared, or maybe you don't feel like you're the best, could be the best person at whatever the given opportunity is, don't let that pass you by just because of, you know, it's some idea of confidence. A lot of times, you know, we're blessed to have good mentors, good colleagues, and a lot of people that see things in us that we can't really see in ourselves. Sometimes people see potential in us and believe in us that, you know, we can do things. So, you know, there was a time in my career where I might have had, you know, an opportunity and said, I don't think I'd be great at that, or you know, but at some point, you know, I kind of turned that around and said, look, you know, somebody sees something in me and I have this opportunity. If I mess it up, you know, if I'm not qualified for it, that's really on them, right? I have this great opportunity and I can do this to enrich my life and, you know, get out of my comfort zone a little bit. Another couple just short ones, you know, that one related to that is you don't let the idea of what your perfect career or your perfect job is be the enemy of good. You know, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. That can apply throughout your practice, whatever you're doing, and really just strategically in your career. I don't know of a job that I've gotten that at that moment I thought this is the perfect job, like that's just going to make me happy and do all, you know, click all the bells and whistles. It's usually a case of this is a good opportunity in front of me, and then I'm able to take it and make it perfect, you know. So, you know, capitalizing on all those things is important. Opportunities don't come along every day, right? So you take the good ones when they're in front of you.
Thank you, Chris. And speaking of role models, I mean, and mentors, I often, as when I eventually got to being an executive manager, I often realized that the people who were going to succeed would look at what people were doing, and then they would either take the good parts and leave the parts that they didn't feel. So they strategically grabbed the best practice of what people had been doing it for a long time were doing, and then but cut off the limitations of those people, and that would lead them to success. I think that's a great tip. Somebody comes in with an attitude, I'm here to learn, and I'm here to kind of suck all the information out of people who don't mind giving it to me, like a mentor would be. I think those people get success a lot. And you know, I never thought I was the smartest guy in the room. I think it's a mistake to think that sometimes. But I'll tell you what, I would be the guy identifying the smartest people in the room and taking their best practice and taking their insight and learning from their mistakes. So I think getting role models and getting mentors is an important part of succeeding. And going out there and thinking you have all the answers is probably not going to get you where you want to be. That doesn't mean you innovate, and it doesn't mean you take bad habits from folks, but it does mean you look at what's going on and you evaluate which stuff you can take and use to best. And most leadership and most leaders and most people who want to be mentors don't mind if you kind of, if they look to you and you take that information from them. So I would think that's a tip that could lead you to some level of success. So looking at this further, can somebody tell me what was one positive thing that you gained from your undergraduate experience?
One thing that I forgot to mention in my intro about was I've spent a lot of my career as a business analyst. And one of the classes, one of my undergrad classes was a system and analysis design class. And from that class, just learning and talking with the instructor, that was when I decided the career path of what I wanted. And it took me probably about 5 to 6 years to figure out how to get into that position to be a business analyst. But basically that one right there was like, what did I need to, after taking the class of learning what it is, what did I need to do to position myself to get into that position? Because a lot of times it's like, that's they want you to have the experience of dealing with different business organizations or actually knowing the system. So I took a project management class to learn of what I needed to do with that. Also talking to other people. And another one I would say in undergrad is definitely, if you can, find an internship, because you don't know what you want to work or how you like the field or the actual work unless you work it. So definitely, if it's anything with the class, some of the classes that you're taking, It's very interesting, and just, I know a lot of it may be not as in depth, but just learning about it that way, and then what you can do to go further if that does interest you, and then also look for an internship. To me, that's the best way, or the best thing I can say for what helped me from undergrad.
Well, thank you, Kara. It seems as if you use undergrad and internships as a way to try on different hats, and kind of without taking a job and not liking it, you used your educational experience to try on these different hats and see what you really gained a passion for. So that's definitely one way to use your undergraduate experience that I would recommend. For me, my undergraduate experience in some ways really taught me how to engage in learning. That's a little different. I also did what Kara said. I tried on different things, and I found what I liked and what I didn't like. But more important, that I used the undergraduate experience as a way to up my academic game. I didn't spend a lot of time in high school and in grammar school, as we call it. I didn't spend a lot of time. I kind of breezed through in some ways. But when I got to my undergraduate experience, I used that experience to teach me how to look how to learn, how to look at learning, how to think about learning, how to structure and how to focus, so that I would go into something further without distraction. So I kind of, in one way, my undergraduate experience kind of taught me how to focus and how to learn. I realized that should have happened at an earlier stage, but it didn't. And so for me, in my undergraduate experience, I learned how to think. And that's one thing we concentrate on in our university and in our courses, is structuring it so that you not only get the material and the knowledge you signed up for, but we like to think we help you how to engage with the material. We structure it according to instructional design best practice. So we take that stuff seriously, and we structure our courses so that when you engage with them, it kind of shows you the way in terms of, to a certain degree, in terms of learning and how to learn. So there's a lot you can do from engaging with our courses or any higher education course. That's just a couple of them. The next question I had is I think something that I would have asked at this stage of your academic career. What's the one thing for our panelists who've been down the road? What's the one thing you know now that would have been helpful to know earlier in your career? What's that one thing?
I'll try to answer that, Ralph, and I'm gonna echo my colleague Chris. It's hard to narrow it down to one thing, but I will. It's, hindsight 2020, right? We're wiser now that we've been there and done that. But if I'd say one thing, I would say, looking back, understanding that it's not only about the technology to be a great technology professional. Earlier in my career, I was a serious IT geek. Many who know me well now will laugh at that and say, "What do you mean was?" A serious geek. It's even today in my backpack, I got a Cisco console table and a Kali Linux boot disk. I was looking at it the other day and said, I haven't used this thing in months. Why not? Nah, put it back in there, because you never know. So I'm still in the game. But I digress. Earlier in my career, I was overly focused on the technology itself. If I could learn, Windows NT server, that's dating myself back then. If I could learn this Windows server, I could do X. If I only could really figure out and be a master at Unix/Linux, I could conquer the world. I just need to learn this programming scripting language to create these batch programs. I could do this. Know this IT thing. Learn this skill. Get this cert, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I realized later in my career, that the technical part is only half the battle. To be a successful IT professional, you got to realize there's also a business component to what we do. If the old saying, if a tree falls in the middle of the woods and no one's able to hear it, did it really make a sound? The same is true with IT and business. If the technology does not provide actionable business value, is it valuable technology? Should we be doing it? So it's all about the how and the why. It's easy earlier in your IT professional career to only concentrate on the how. Don't really care about the why. Computer geeks all over the world know how to turn all the different nerd knobs. But the true IT professionals that are successful not only know how to turn the nerd knobs, but also why. What value do they bring? What business problems are you solving with this technology? That's something I didn't think about until later in my career. You can be the smartest IT person in the room, but it's not going to matter unless you're able to communicate the value and the ideas of the technology to the rest of the business. I wish I'd have known that earlier, just how important these business and communication skills were to being an IT professional. Even in my earlier college classes, I only wanted the technical stuff. I only wanted the core lab oriented, get my hands dirty technical things. I hated it when my professors covered all these ancillary business skills, especially communications. I mean, I used to think, why did I care about having to learn how to give a non-technical presentation about technology? My empathy mindset was, what do they care? If I know how it works, that's the only thing that matters. Boy, was I wrong. As I learned, as I matured and grew and become an IT professional and a leader, if I could reboot and do it all again, I would have paid as much attention to those business and communication skills in my IT classes as I did the technical parts. If I would have done that, it would have jump-started my IT career exponentially.
If you don't mind, Bill, I want to piggyback on some ideas that you said there. I think, when we're early in our careers in IT and we're turning the nerd knobs, Bill always has great Billisms. I always steal. But when we're doing those things, like I remember back in the early days of my career, like one of the big selling points for me that got me advanced was that I could take technology apart and figure it out. And, somebody could ask me to do something. I might not know anything about it, but in a week or two, I would be the expert in it, and I would go and do it. And, they didn't have to buy like some fancy training class for me or some fancy tool. I'd find a way to do it. It's great to have that self-reliance, and it can be very helpful early in your career, but at some point it becomes a weakness because you don't want to delegate things and you don't want to admit sometimes that, hey, I really could use like a structured training class from an expert in XYZ field. Like maybe if I just sat down for 40 hours and took some training on this, then I could more efficiently do what they're asking me, or maybe even better yet, just delegate it to somebody else and say, hey, this is a little too much, maybe we need another resource for this. I think those are words that are hard to, it's a position that's hard to come by when you're very ambitious, and you're getting started and you're trying to prove yourself. But definitely relates to what you're saying, Bill, because it's kind of that focus on the technical solution and being able to deliver that technical solution. Sometimes it's the smaller things that really can impress and make the difference.
Yeah, well said, Chris. That is definitely something. It took me a while to learn that as well. That just being the one person highly technical will run the thing, and that's fine. There's in an industry where I'm from, in the IT industry, there's a phrase called the bus number, and the bus number is how many of your employees could get hit by a bus before you were out of business. And if your bus number was 1, then you were at high risk. So if you had a Chris or a Bill or a Kara sitting in the back running your technology, and then you didn't have them anymore, you'd be out of business. And that's known as a high risk situation. If you're running a risk management program, that's a big risk. We only have one person who knows our technology. So we, as leadership, we discourage having somebody who's solely engaged in the technology and they're the only expert on that technology that you have. So we mature and we gain knowledge. And just like Bill said, and just like Chris said, the stuff as somebody, I actually did like application development and programming. That's something I did on the side. But I thought that the rest of the project management and then when Scrum came along, and this was all a waste of my time. I'll just, I'll write code, I'll make it good. And what I learned as I got older was that without process, you don't have repeatable success. And so I learned that the process, it seemed a little hokey to me when I started, but the process is really what defines the governance, the ability to repeat what you do successfully, the governance to manage it is super important. So, and I think Kara, as a business analyst and as a Scrum Master, will tell you that that's the thing that gets the job done, gets it done on time and within budget. And so that becomes highly, highly important because, as Bill said earlier, you could have the best technology in the world, but if it's not helping whatever your business is to succeed, then what's the use of it? So, I wish I would have known earlier in my career the value of the wrapping around the technology, so that there's room for all different types of people doing all different types of things. And back to our mentorship discussion in regards to that, these type of tips you're hearing on this panel today, all the panelists and myself teach. So we very explicitly choose industry experts to teach our courses because, we can get any intelligent person to read you something out of a textbook, but to give it color, to imbue it with this 30 years of industry knowledge like Bill has, this 20, 25 years of cybersecurity experience like Chris has, this expertise in managing things from beginning to end that Kara does. If we can imbue the academic materials with that kind of knowledge and get you that mentoring during your course, I thought that was the best way to structure our program. And so that's what we do. Your courses there's very few of your instructors are full-time academics. Many of your instructors are industry professionals, almost all of them. And so you'll not only learn about defense in depth, for example, in cybersecurity, you'll be learning from somebody who could give you a concept and then relate it to something that happened at the work that day. And yeah, you know what? Somebody broke into our network, and there was no firewall between the payroll department and the marketing department, and something jumped through the network. So this kind of stuff is important. So that's why we've structured our programs and our courses at Tulane to recognize that you'll want to meet. You'll want to meet your mentors and your role models as your instructors. You'll want to get your information from people who really do it and really do it right now in today's industry and in today's world. So here's a list of some. If you look at the screen, here's some of the stuff that's offered in the information technology department. We've got a couple of master's degrees. We got one in information technology management and one in cybersecurity management. And you could see, you could actually concentrate and get certificates in things like cybersecurity and IT management, or emergency operations or homeland security. And in our cybersecurity management masters, you get these kind of concentrations in emergency operations and homeland security. So that's kind of interesting stuff. The IT management masters is 10 courses. The cybersecurity management is 11 courses or 33 credits. Also got a bachelor's degree that we offer. It's a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. But interestingly, again, we go very wide on these things. You've got a choice of 5 concentrations for your Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. And as you can see, app dev, system and network administration, cloud and virtualization, cybersecurity, and product and program support, which is some of that governance, some of that wrapping that goes around the highly technical stuff. And we've got over 250 labs that are in all of these courses. They're hands-on experiences. Just to let you know, when we built these courses, we looked at them from 3 distinct things we're trying to get to with these courses. First one is technical prowess. We give you, there's over 250 labs. We want you going hands-on technically, but that's a big part of it. But that's not all we built into it. We built technical, but we also built governance and process to understand how to deploy your technology, how to manage it, how to maintain it, how to sustain it, how to ensure that it stays risk mitigated or minimally risky. The third piece we built into it, as our panel talked about, was business acumen and the ability to talk to leadership. You wonder, some of these high profile breaches you see on the news, you wonder if the CIO or the CISO would have walked into the CEO's office and said, listen, we've got 100 million people's credit stuff in that database and it's not encrypted at rest. You wonder, and so therefore, if anybody breaches our network, we've lost that data. You wonder if somebody would have spoken plainly and clearly to a CIO or to a CEO. You wonder if a lot of this information would have been lost because it wasn't properly being, that would have started with a budget request. Hey, and we will teach you how to do a business plan to get your IT operations going, how to float an RFP and respond to an RFP. These things are part of this education. So we've got our master's degrees and our bachelor's degrees. We've also got a bunch of graduate certificates, and I was keeping one eye on the chat, and we'll get to your questions in a minute, but we've got these graduate certificates. The first one I think is pretty interesting. If you've got an undergraduate degree in a non-technical domain, but you want to be in IT, the Cyber Tech Fundamentals certificate will give you all this knowledge that you would normally get in an undergraduate program. We've compressed it into a graduate course for students that are able to keep up with it academically. We've compressed networking, infrastructure, app development, cybersecurity, ethics, and governance. We've compressed that into 6 courses in this fundamental certificate, which will prepare you to get your master's. So if we admitted you to Cyber Tech Fundamentals and you got that certificate and you kept a 3.0 GPA, we'd admit you into our into our master's program. Then we've got graduate certificates in cyber defense, cyber leadership, IT strategic planning, and technology architecture. The good things about those certificates are they stack into the master's degree. So if you get a cyber defense certificate, the courses you took to get that certificate will also count towards your master's. So you can come in, get a cyber defense certificate, a cyber leadership certificate, and then only take the remaining number of courses to get your cybersecurity management degree. And the same thing works for the IT strategic planning and the technology architecture. So ostensibly, you could come in, get 2 certificates, and get a master's degree and walk out of the university with all that under your arm. All of our programs at both master's and bachelor's have final projects, capstones. And so by doing this final project that brings all this knowledge you gained in the degree, by bringing it in and have you put it against a semester-long real-world based project, we give you this portfolio to leave the university with, whether at the bachelor's level or at the master's level. So we think we've got a series of programs that are both wide, technical, also because it's Tulane University, we're going to give you the governance to be a leader and the business strategy to help you lead as well. So we're walking the walk here because we've talked the talk around getting you this industry ready degree, this degree that gives you those skills. And so with that, I'd like to perhaps take a look at our questions. And what do we got?
Hey, Ralph, it looks like you already covered Taylor's question about the cyber technology fundamentals.
Okay, great. If anybody's got a question, you just kind of pop that into the chat and I'll be happy to answer it. While I give you folks some time to look at that, some other stuff about our information technology programs, which is interesting. Every semester we run certification courses that count towards your degree, both at the master's level and at the undergraduate level. We're partners with Amazon Web Services and CompTIA, so you can get a Security Plus cert and have that course where you study to pass that exam and you get the voucher for that exam. You could have that course also count towards your degree. So you can leave the university with some professional certs as well, and AWS cloud certs as well. We also run a cyber competition team. If you want to be a cybersecurity warrior, or we have a cyber competition team that competes against other universities, and we have a course to train you to be on the cyber competition team. That course is full of hands-on lab experiences. It's called Cyber Defense. It will count towards your cybersecurity undergraduate degree or your cybersecurity management graduate degree if you take the course. And you'll also get a resume stuffer of having competed in these highly competitive university cybersecurity competitions. So I think that's kind of interesting. We've also got a program called the Women in Technology Mentorship Program, where we will connect up our students with a female mentor in industry to have that mentor work with our students to be ready for the culture of IT out in industry. So we would assign you a mentor. One of our mentors is the ex-CIO of the Department of Defense. So that's the example of the type level of mentors we have. So if you're a student of ours, you can join this mentorship program. It's and make a connection in industry, but also, again, we think very highly of that mentorship experience here at Tulane. That's why all of our instructors are, or most of our instructors are real world industry leaders. And also we've got our mentorship program in our Women in Technology Mentorship Program. So if I don't have any other questions, and I don't believe I do, I'd like to thank everybody for coming this afternoon. And I hope you got something meaningful out of it. On your screen, you could see how to contact us with more information. And if you send an email to asksopa@Tulane.edu and you want it to be for Professor Russo or to any of our panelists, just put our name in there and it'll get to us. So thank you everybody for joining, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.